welcome to the 5th episode of A Conversation. Today with me is my friend Saige.
Hi, Marna.
And it's going to be kind of a different episode. She's going to be sharing her story and her experience with being diagnosed with aplastic anemia, which is a really serious disease and very rare, and kind of her struggles and how she got through it.
Yes, ma'am. Let's dive on in.
Yeah, so thanks so much for being here, Saige.
Thanks for having me, Mona. I think it's really cool that you let me come on here because you and I have talked about this before, and I kind of told you the situation that I want to share my story in. And obviously I shared in chapel a week ago? No, now it'll be 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and for those of you that heard her story, I think it would be really cool. It's more in depth because
yeah, I feel like I didn't really get to do it justice. It was kind of just more chill. But we're gonna really dig into the dirt here. Let's do it.
All right, so let's get started. For those of you that didn't hear Saige's sharing in chapel, would you like to introduce yourself? It's a little short blurb.
Yeah, for sure. My name's Saige, and I'm in grade 12.
Perfect. All right.
What was it supposed to be?
I don't know. Anything you wanted.
My favorite color is red. I have a dog. His name's Diesel. He's 13 years old. I'm studying. No, never mind. Go for it.
Okay. Anyways, so do you want to give a quick summary of your diagnosis over your life over the past 2 years? Maybe 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'll just go back to last September, September 2019. Actually, no. You know what? I'm gonna go back to May. How's that sound?
Okay.
May 2019.
Okay, yeah, go back to May. That's great. Yeah, that's great.
Okay, so where do I start? Well, Mona, we're having a conversation. I'm a really high energy person, very eccentric, extrovert to the max, whatever. I have a lot of energy usually all the time, but last May, April, around there, I started feeling not as much energy, and I played softball really competitively last season, and I would get obviously hit by people and softballs and stuff like that, and I would get these huge bruises. Do you remember the ones that I had last year?
Oh yeah, it was huge. It covered your whole entire shin.
Yeah, it was my entire front of my calf. Me and my mom thought it was a fracture or something broke because a human slid into me, another person, and she ended up she broke her ankle, but I thought I was fine. Anyways, so we were okay, well, this is weird. I went to the hospital, got a bunch of x-rays, nothing happened. They didn't even ask for a blood test, and they just sent me home, and I was okay. And then kind of the rest of the summer went on, and I had obviously a lot of softball stuff going on in the summer, and I was really busy, but I just kept getting more and more exhausted, and I would go to the gym, go to work out, stuff like this, and I would just be out of breath. I would go and this summer, or last spring break, I could run 5 miles in I think I cracked 45 minutes, and I was super excited or something like that. And I kept doing that, but my time kept getting longer and longer and longer. I was what the heck is going on? I know I'm in shape. I know I'm fast right now. What's happening? And my calves would start cramping up at a mile. And I was what the heck is happening? I stretched all this kind of weird stuff. And then I had this one tryout. It was August 24th and 25th. And I was just so bad. And I
tryout for softball team, right?
Yeah. It was for a team, a travel team in Las Vegas. And the first day went fine, but the second day was just garbage. And I was I'm so embarrassed because what was that? And it was it was a tryout where it was invites only. So it was it wasn't any you weren't messing around. And I was I was so mad at myself because I was what's happening? And then my friend, I told her about it, and she was well, why don't you just take your mind off of it? We'll go to Kelowna for the weekend or for the week. A couple days. And I was okay, yeah, sounds good. She had to move in because she goes to UBCO, and she was moving her stuff back from here to there and stuff like that. So I was sure, I'll come along. So we go up to Kelowna, and then we're there for the first night. We're in her house that she was living in. And then I woke up the next morning, and I had this migraine so bad, and like it was just weird, the chronological, like everything happening, like the bruises, the tiredness, the migraine I got, like that headache was so crazy, Mona. Like I don't know if I've told you this before, but like she's a nurse and she was going into her 3rd year of nursing at this point, and I was trying to tell her to get me Advil, but I wasn't like speaking because I couldn't, like I thought I was telling her, can you get me some Advil? But she didn't understand what I was saying. And I was like, what is wrong with this girl? Like, she doesn't know, like, get me some Advil. Like, honestly, I was so angry too. And then, like, I got this, like, my stomach started hurting. And then I went to the bathroom and I just started, like, throwing up blood. And I was like, oh my gosh. And she didn't really know what was happening either. And it was, like, a lot was coming up too.
This was on a so scary.
Dude, it was crazy, but also I was kind of just worried about my head hurting, you know, because it hurt so bad. And I couldn't, like, see straight. Anyways, weird stuff. That was on a Wednesday. So then the Thursday I went to, like, we drove home that day after my headache was over because we were like, we don't want to stay here anymore. It's kind of scary. Like, she was like, we need to call your mom. I was like, don't call my mom.
Okay.
But anyways, we drove home on the Wednesday, and then the Thursday I go to my doctor, and she like looked at me, and my face was super pale. Like I am just like a naturally red person. My undertone is
naturally red.
Anyway, I'm like, you know, your lips are darker and your tongue's darker than your face too, but my tongue and lips were the same color as my pale face at this point. Yeah. And the doctor was like, oh, I think you're highly deficient. Go for a blood test like later today or tomorrow. But I hated blood tests, which is like kind of ironic. Every time I say that now, I'm like, oh, well. Anyways, but the next day was actually the Aritzia warehouse sale. So I didn't go for a blood test. Aritzia warehouse sale, you know? So I went, and there was like a group of us that went. It was on the Friday. And we went to the warehouse sale, and I was like out of breath just walking up and down the aisle. We were just walking, like literally walking would kill me. Like I couldn't breathe. And then, you know, at Waterfront, like down by the Cactus Club, and then you like walk up Granville Street, it's a tiny incline. Walking up that incline, I had to stop and like breathe. And I was telling myself, I was like, you can make it one more light. You can make it one more light. Let's like, come on. And everyone was like talking and like having so much fun. And I was like, I can't breathe. Like, it was so weird. And then I saw a SkyTrain station and I was like, I can't, I have to go home.
Yeah.
And like, for me, that's really weird because I'm very, like I said before, extroverted.
Yeah.
So like to be going, like, and being like, guys, I'm sorry, I have to go. And they were like, well, we can like come with you. Like Sarah was like, I'll come with you. Like, I'll go on the SkyTrain with you. I was like, Sarah, no, it's fine. Like, it was so crazy. And I was on the SkyTrain way home and I was like, Mom, I don't know what's going on. Like, I called my mom and I was like, I don't know what's happening. Something's really wrong.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is.
The migraine and the blood puking at this point?
Yeah, like I told her afterwards and she was like, oh, okay, well, because, you know, you don't want to assume the worst, right? Because, like, it's just weird. So anyways, on the Saturday, I go get a blood test and then I go to work an 8-hour shift. And it was a set shift. So I work at a golf course. I'm a banquet server, so that means that I like go around. But this shift was a setup shift for a wedding, and usually those are like pretty intense. You know, you're carrying all the chairs outside, you're going into the shed, like carrying tables and like setting things up and like lifting stuff. And obviously, like, how do I say this without sounding
like at your state?
No, dude, no, not sorry. I'm stronger than other gals. So usually I'd be the one like lifting things and passing it to them, and they'd be like putting the frills on and stuff like that, and I'd be like, you know, like doing all that kind of stuff, right? And like there's this thing called staging. It's so heavy, but no one can lift it. So anyway, so I was doing all that, but I was getting out of breath so quickly, and everyone was like, "What the heck is wrong with you?" Like, anyways. So on the way home from work, I get a call from Life Labs. And they're like, you need to get to the emergency room, like, now. And I was like, well, I can't. I have to go eat dinner first. And they were like, well, no, like, it's not like that. Like, you need to get here. We think something bad could happen.
Oh, wow.
Because, like, yeah, it was crazy. So then, like, my mom started crying. And I was like, what the heck? Like, I was kind of, this sounds so bad. But at the beginning, I was like, oh, my gosh, I get to go to the hospital. Like, people are going to think, like, I'm so cool. And I'm going to get one of those wristbands. And, like, it'll be so sick. But dude, oh my gosh. And I was kind of like, it's fine. Like, why are you crying? And I was kind of being like, what the heck is going on? Like, you're freaking me out. We get to the hospital and they go, we need another blood test. oh, and I'm like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Another one? I just had one this morning. And like, I spent the night at Surrey Memorial. It was crazy. I ended up getting transferred by ambulance to Children's because there's this thing called a bone marrow biopsy, and it's like a surgery where they like stick something into your back of your pelvis through your bone to get some bone marrow, pull it back out. And they're like, well, we're not going to do it with sedation. And I was like, okay, that doesn't sound good to me. So Children's would do it with sedation, but the thing with Children's is you have to be 16 and 364 days to be a patient. And I turned 17 like 2 weeks before this.
Oh, like just.
So they were like, well, you don't qualify. Sorry. And then my mom was like, you. And she just like went off. She's like, she's a child. You can't be doing this. Like, It was crazy. Thank you, Mom. Anyways. So yeah, I ended up going to Children's, and then that kind of like everything just spiraled off from there. I got diagnosed with aplastic anemia. It's a blood disease. Yeah, that's the whole preface to it. Anyways, yeah.
So what is aplastic anemia?
Oh, right. It's a blood disease. It's basically where your bone marrow just stops producing blood. So this is why I was getting so tired. My body wasn't making any more blood. Like, it would make like a little bit, but it was just getting less and less and less. And at the end, I think for the 2 weeks before, my body just like wasn't really producing blood. So my platelets were
vital for your body.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. And there's a specific protein in your blood called hemoglobin, and it delivers a lot of the oxygen. So that's why my legs were cramping and like stuff like that. And they last about 2 weeks. So me getting there when I did was really important. And my platelets, those are the ones that stop you from bruising and bleeding. If you get a cut, they'll come and like help close the cut and stuff like that. That's why you
have these like huge bruises covering your legs.
Exactly. Yeah. Even way at the beginning, because platelets will last around like 4 days, 5 days. And when my first blood test, you're supposed to have around 200 or 400, and I was at 11. So it was like, oh, like, oh no, like this isn't good. And then my white blood cells, a specific one called neutrophils, were really low. That's in charge of your like immune system and keeping you from getting a virus or like a lung infection or viral infection, whatever. They were at 0.4, and they're supposed to be at 1.5 to 6.0. That's a really good immune system. But it doesn't sound that different, but for like someone who's at 1.5 versus someone who's at 1.4, the difference is like huge.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
So you got diagnosed at the end of summer.
I got officially diagnosed at the end of September.
Okay.
Because they can't really give an official diagnosis until they've taken your bone marrow, sent it off to this like laboratory in Sweden who only had the technology to figure it out, because aplastic anemia is so rare. Mm-hmm. It's like a 1 in a million disease. So at the beginning they told me I had leukemia, or they were like getting to the like, you have like setting me up for, you have leukemia, and I was on this like anti-leukemia something drug for like about a month and a half until they actually knew what it was. And in that time they were like, well, yeah, you can go to school if you feel like it, like just be careful and everything, like don't hug people, don't get close. And I could go, like, that's why I got to go on the grad cruise. Like Emma's mom Suzanne was one of my nurses, and she came too. Mm-hmm. So that was really nice. Yeah. I got to do that, which is fun. And then I got to like go to school whenever I felt like it, which wasn't a lot. It was probably, I think I went for 2 weeks in September overall.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So what was your initial reaction when you got your diagnosis?
I didn't think it was real. I was like, oh, this is like in one of the movies when like the main character gets sick and then she like overcomes it. And I was like, all right, well, okay. I think my mindset from the beginning was like, this is a setback, but we're going to get over it. Like I kind of told myself like, you're okay. It's just a wall you got to climb over, you know? I don't know. Yeah. I didn't take it like, oh my gosh, what the heck? Like, I don't know. It was just never like that.
So do you want to describe what happened after September till now?
Oh,
first of all, how serious is aplastic anemia? I think we covered.
Yeah, okay. So funny enough, the aplastic anemia I got diagnosed with was called severe aplastic anemia, which is already different from aplastic anemia because, so like back in 1990, it wasn't a curable disease. So if you got it, you're dead pretty much. So with the technology that they have now, and like they kind of figured out that it's a hematology disease, a blood disease, but it's wrapped up with oncology. It's one of the only blood diseases that which cancers. It's one of the only
oncology.
Oncology's cancer.
Okay.
So it's the only, like, when I would stay at Children's, I was on the oncology floor. So, like, and I got all the same, like, treatments, procedures, whatever, all that kind of stuff. So it's, like I said, aplastic's 1 in a million. I was the first 17-year-old female girl, yeah, for sure. I was the first 17-year-old female who was diagnosed in Canada ever. There was another chick in America, I think there might have been 2 of them, who were 17 and they got diagnosed with aplastic anemia, but like generally I think it's like 600 people a year get diagnosed. And yeah, like with the treatment, there's 2 roads that you can go down for treatment. One of them's a bone marrow transplant, but you have to have an exact match. The only person who can be an exact match for you is a sibling, because they can have the chance to share the exact same DNA with you. So my brother got tested. He wasn't a match. There's a 1 in 4. Did I already say there was 1 in 4 chance that he could be matched? Okay, well, there's a 1 in 4 match that one of your siblings is. Like, I only have 1 brother. So yeah. He got tested. He wasn't a match. And then they were like, okay, well, we're not going to go worldwide yet, because that.
Like worldwide to look for a match. Is that what you mean? To
look for a match, yeah. Because that can, if you do get bone marrow from someone else, you can get this thing called graft versus host virus, which basically means that the bone marrow that gets given to you will start attacking you, and
and that's a very risky procedure, right?
Exactly. And that's with every organ transplant, is this thing called graft versus host. But I think for bone marrow it's a little different, because if it's like a liver or kidney or something like that, it's like, I don't know this for sure, but this is kind of what they were prefacing to me. It was like, bone marrow is everywhere. You can't just take it back out.
Yeah.
It's there. So like, we got to think
about
this
carefully. Not a localized organ, unlike
exactly, yeah. So I was kind of like, okay, and I didn't really, when they, like that first conversation when they sit you down with your parents and like, oh, okay, this is what you have. This is what the next few months are going to look like. This, that, the other. It was freaky. Like, I was like, oh, like, I don't like that. So like, I chose not to be a huge part of like the other, like the logistics, and be like, so if she gets this might happen, this is how she's going to react, like this, and like all that kind of stuff. I was just like, no, I just want to do it how I'm going to do it. I don't want to know about what could happen, because it'll just freak me out. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to like sit back and like let what happen. Tell my parents, sure, but I don't want to hear it, Mm-hmm. So I got this treatment. This is the other way you can go. I got, I always forget, immunosuppressive therapy. Thank you. And I got, it's like a serum. It's called anti-thymocyte globulin.
Wow.
And it's worse. Yeah. Hi, look at me go. ATG, I guess. IST-ATG. It's whatever. I'm kidding. So I got, at the beginning of October, I got a PICC line put into my arm, which is basically, it's a tube that goes in your vein to your heart, near your pulmonary vein.
So before this point, before you got the PICC line, why did you get the PICC line?
Oh, okay. So basically a PICC line is for, you don't need to get poked that's what they call it, poked. So it's not like you're going to get a needle. Poked is just nicer. So I wouldn't get poked all the time. They can draw blood from it. They can put the serum into it, which is nice. It's like a permanent IV. So like a PICC line can last for like 6 months. They were also talking about maybe a central line, but a central line is more like...
Serious? Like straight to your...
No, it's more permanent.
Oh, I see.
Like a central line is like you can shower really easily with it, and like it's like it's underneath your skin. Yeah. So like you can feel it, like it's like a little circle, but like a needle goes in to it, and it'll go straight to your heart. But getting this, dude, I had to flush it every day, and it goes, boom, it's there. Like when I would flush it, I would like go kind of quickly, because like if you flush it really quick, you get like a salty taste in your mouth. And I thought it was fun. And by the end, I was flushing it myself and like doing whatever. And it was like really cool and stuff like that, because I'm into that kind of stuff. So it was like whatever. But I still have that. Can you see the scar on my arm? There. It's a tiny dot. That's where they like fished it out from.
So just kind of a recap. So there was the bone marrow transplant, which you couldn't do because your brother wasn't a match. And then the immunosuppressive therapy is the one that your doctors would have rather like not do, right? because it has a lower chance of success?
Yeah, generally for younger people like myself, and for people who have had, who they didn't know how long I'd had it for, but they could like kind of tell by my chromosomes. Like there's on the 23rd chromosome at the end of it, they can tell the health of your bone marrow. And mine was like pretty, it wasn't bad, it also wasn't great. So they're like, oh, we think you've had it for this long, it's good, you can't really get blah, blah, blah. Like all that kind of stuff. So wait, what was your question?
Oh, I was just like connecting the dot for the listeners that the bone marrow transplant had higher rate of success.
Oh, right. Sorry, just lost my train. Anyways, so the bone marrow transplant is like around 80%, 90%, closer to 90, it'll work and you'll be fully cured. And the thing with bone marrow transplant is you can be completely cured of aplastic anemia and it's gone.
Yeah.
But the thing with immunosuppressive therapy is that it's a broader spectrum, so it's like 50 to 70% successful because it's so different. And like, so I just would always tell people 60% success, and if it doesn't work, you go on the worldwide marrow transplant list. Yeah.
So what does immunosuppressive therapy do?
It suppresses your immune system.
Okay, wow.
So there you go. So in order for my bone marrow to start working again, they had to shut like my friend told me this the other day, my friend that's a nurse, she explained it to me. She's like, this is what I would tell people. It's like when your iPhone's glitching and you have to shut it off, restart it, and then turn it back on. That's basically what had to happen to me. And I think that was really clever of her. And she just told me that like a few days ago. I was like, okay, you could have told me that months ago. Because whenever I try to explain it to people, I'm like, so they have to like, so it wasn't good. And I just can't really explain it that well, but yeah,
like a reboot to your system.
A reboot to my system, exactly. So it was pretty scary.
So thanks for joining us for this week's episode. Next week, Saige will continue to share her story and what her life looked like in the months when she underwent immunosuppressive therapy. And in the episode after that, she'll share the lessons that she learned and how God played a huge role in helping her get through this difficult time. So I hope you enjoyed this week's episode, and we'll see you next time.